And Ukrainian officials, of course, been telling us in the last few weeks they expect around 20,000 people or so have died in just Mariupol. John Spencer is the chair of urban warfare studies at the Madison Policy Forum. He's also served for more than 25 years in the US Army. He joins me now from Colorado. Very good morning to you, John. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. Let me start right there where Scott McLean left off in the city of Mariupol. We did get a small breakthrough, it seems, with those 20 civilians being evacuated, but there's still so many more inside. How do you see this playing out? Because, of course, the Ukrainian soldiers we have spoken to have said they won't surrender.
Yeah, I don't think they will, and I think it is humanitarian crisis that is being forced or being caused by Russia. Make no mistake, if Russia wanted those civilians out, they could give the order and that ceasefire would happen and last and get every single civilian out. And oh, by the way, the wounded soldiers, those are considered non-combatants in the law of armed conflict. They're not fighters. They need to let out as well.
And in the meantime, John, what we have been seeing in the battlefield is Russia really pressing on with its offensive in the east and intensifying, I think it's important to point out, intensifying that offensive. What is your assessment of their kind of tactical coordination and that push that we've been seeing in the east? Because they are they're more organized all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, they have the advantage of basically having a supply line, but they're still making a lot of the same mistakes, Issa. I mean, yeah, they've massed some forces in their heavy use of artillery. We see that, and that's why this is a dangerous phase. And some of these fights, like for the fight for Izium, and really this is a war over logistical lines right now. They need certain road intersections, railway heads, and cities to do this encirclement of the Donbass that they want to do. It's a real dangerous phase, but you also see Ukrainians counterattacking in Kharkiv and other locations that's more promising than a couple of the spots. This is a day-by-day fight.
Yeah, and we have seen, like you said, Ukraine, pushing back. We have seen the push and pull of battle. On the question of, what Russia, kind of what they're suffering, according to President Zelensky in his overnight address, I've got it here just in front of me, he said our defenders have already destroyed more than 1,000 Russian tanks, almost 200 Russian aircraft, almost 2,500 armored fighting vehicles. Obviously, they're still in stock. They still have plenty of stock. Their supply lines are still coming in. And we are seeing from the Russian side, those attacks on the supply lines, John, here in Ukraine. And that is critical for the Ukrainians.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would really question, right, we all know that Russia has stockpiles of tanks, but we've also seen the quality of even the stuff they put into Ukraine now. Unlike the Ukrainians who are getting some of the world's best equipment, vehicles, tanks, artillery, Russia, even if it resupplies and it can get it, it's not good stuff.
Yeah, and I suspect, I mean, with the Western artillery that we've got coming in and starts making its way in here, John, that this battle will be very much kind of a long-range weapons and would force, I suspect, and you correct me here, force them to ultimately grow more nimble.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll break them up. We've already seen like long-range attacks today in Izium that supposedly took out a Russian command and control center. That's that long range that we've been talking about, the phase we're entering, where both sides will be trying to hit each other from as far away as possible while Russia continues its war crimes. But those systems, as more and more of them get in, the more holding and pushing back and breaking up of those Russian forces the Ukrainians will be able to do.
And just before we came to you, we reported on the story that really many have been saying, that Ukraine has been saying for over a week, that Russia is using its submarines in the Black Sea. What do you make of what we've been seeing, carrying out cruise missiles on Ukrainian targets from the Black Sea? What are the challenges for the Ukrainians here, John?
One is to stay vigilant, like even in cities, as we saw, Odessa was struck. I think they're running out of cruise missiles, to be honest, so that you see them using them, such as a submarine fleet. But like we saw in Kyiv, like in Odessa, the Ukrainians have to stay vigilant, and that's why I agree with like curfews and things like that, just to keep people safe, because Russia's going to continue this basically missile terrorism.
And very briefly, John, as we push forward with this offensive and we see this offensive play out, Putin seems to be wanting a victory, some sort of victory for May the 9th. What are the risks here for Ukraine as we look ahead to the next few weeks?
Yeah, a lot of risks. Russia's being pushed a lot harder, and a lot of us believe it's because they need something to celebrate, because they really have to make something up at this point. They've lost so much. So the forces that are holding the line along the east have to be reinforced as quickly as possible. So this is an urgency for Ukraine and the world, really.
Yeah, and we don't know yet what that win would be. Odessa, we saw them attack Odessa, of course, yesterday. Mariupol, perhaps. But it explains really why we have seen, though, Russia attacking those critical supply lines of Ukraine. John Spencer, always great to get your thoughts. Appreciate it, John.
Thank you.
Now.